Rallying is fast, dangerous, and completely unforgiving. And when things go wrong, they go really wrong. From cars flying off cliffs to crashes that left fans holding their breath, today we're counting down the top 10 worst rally crashes ever. 10 Ashley Forest Rally. First up, we've got a wild crash from the Ashley Forest Rally in 2023. And luckily, the cameras caught every angle of it. A Subaru Impreza was tearing through the forest stage, the driver and co-driver pushing hard on those narrow, tree-lined roads. The car was right on the edge of control, sliding through corners, brushing the banks, and holding nothing back. But then came disaster. Going into a fast right-hander, the driver pushed just a little too far. The Subaru snapped sideways, drifted wide, and slammed straight into the ditch. In an instant, the car flipped onto its roof and began rolling violently up the stage. It tumbled again and again, smashing into a tree and throwing up dirt everywhere. Spectators gasped as the Impreza spun terrifyingly close to them. It could have been deadly. Miraculously, both the driver and co-driver walked away unharmed. The Subaru, though, not so lucky. The wreck left the team with a massive repair bill. 9 Subaru Legacy. On day 1 of the rally, Colin McCrae didn't just have a crash, he had a monster of an accident. His Subaru Legacy rolled 7 times, tearing through tree stumps before somehow landing back on its wheels. For most drivers, that would have been the end of the story. Car wrecked, rally over. But this was McRae, and this was a Subaru. The car looked battered, but the engine was alive and kicking. Against all odds, it was still drivable. So Colin did what Colin always did. He pushed harder, too hard. Before long, he flew off again, smashing through trees and rolling the car a second time. His co-driver, David Richards, could still laugh about it, but McRae? He was furious. This wasn't the way things were supposed to go, and each crash only fueled his frustration. By the 3rd day, Colin was literally swinging a sledgehammer at the car, knocking dents out just to keep it running. And here's the thing. The team didn't just watch. They followed his lead. That was McRae in a nutshell. Relentless, fearless, and able to inspire everyone around him to keep fighting, no matter how bad the odds looked. 8 Škoda. Now this one was a nightmare day for Odd Sur and his co-pilot at the Rally Sleen in 2021. Sur was flying down what looked like a harmless stretch of tarmac, attacking the stage at full speed. But hidden ahead was a massive bump in the road, one that would change everything in an instant. Flat out in his Škoda, he hit the bump hard. The car launched awkwardly, completely out of control, and shot straight off the road at terrifying speed. It plummeted into a ditch, then flipped violently onto its roof. What followed was chaos. The car was hurled into the air like a rag doll, pieces ripping off as if it were a toy. When it finally came down, the impact was brutal. A bone-rattling thud that sent smoke pouring from the wreck. Spectators stood frozen, horrified. The crash looked so violent, many believed there was no way anyone could survive it. 7-1995 Rally Ireland. Next up is a moment of pure rally drama and unbelievable luck from the 1995 Rally Ireland. The stage ran along the narrow roads of Crossgar, County Down, where one driver and co-driver were pushing hard in their little hatchback, chasing rally glory. Spectators had gathered close to the action, with one photographer setting up in the gateway of a house, a spot that would soon prove way too close for comfort. As the car approached at over 100 miles per hour, it launched off a jump, but when it landed, disaster struck. The steering failed instantly, locking the wheels and sending the car veering left at terrifying speed. The hatchback slammed straight toward the gateway, missing the photographer by a margin so small it was almost impossible to believe. In the blink of an eye, the car obliterated the stone wall in a thunderous crash. Yet the man behind the camera stood completely unharmed. It was one of those once-in-a-lifetime moments. Unbelievable danger, unbelievable calmness, and without a doubt, one of the luckiest escapes in rally. 5-2018 Rally Australia. Not every rally crash ends with a car in the trees. Sometimes it's something a little stranger. In 2018 Rally Australia, Molly Taylor found that out the hard way. On the second stage near New South Wales, Taylor was flat out in her Subaru Impreza, chasing the clock over a blind crest. But as the car landed, it snapped sideways, sending her straight toward an unfortunate obstacle, a hay bale. At insane speed, the Subaru smashed into it head-on. The impact was so brutal that it launched the bale deep into the forest and spun Taylor's car around like a toy before it came to a sudden stop. It was one of the highest speed crashes of the entire event. Miraculously, both Molly and her co-driver, Malcolm Reed, walked away without injury, but the Impreza was left a wreck. 4 Monte Carlo Rally. This next one is the kind of crash rally drivers have nightmares about. It happened during the 2022 Monte Carlo Rally, and it was nothing short of terrifying. Adrian Fourmeau was piloting his Ford Puma Rally 1 down a dangerous mountain pass, the roads icy and unforgiving. He was pushing right to the limit when disaster struck. Coming into a corner too fast, the Puma clipped the mountainside, and in an instant, the car was thrown into the air, landing on its side. But the nightmare was only just beginning, because directly ahead was a sheer drop off the edge of the mountain. The Ford launched straight over the edge and plunged down the slope, smashing through trees as it rolled violently at insane speed. The impact tore the car apart, scattering pieces everywhere. The only part left intact was the roll cage. When the wreck finally came to a stop, the silence was chilling. It looked impossible that anyone. 3 Rally Epernay 2023. What happened at the Rally Epernay 2023 to driver Stefan Loeb was far crazier than anyone could have imagined. On a fast tarmac stage, Loeb and his co-driver were blasting down a narrow country road at full speed. It was a calm afternoon in the Belgian countryside, until disaster struck. Out of nowhere, the car clipped a bump in the road. In an instant, it snapped out of control, flipped violently, and began an unbelievable series of rolls. The car cartwheeled over 10 times, tearing across the roadside before finally coming to rest in a mangled heap. Bodywork flew in every direction, with shattered parts whizzing past and narrowly missing spectators. For a moment, the scene looked catastrophic. But in a miraculous twist, both Loeb and his co-driver climbed out unhurt, a shocking reminder that in rallying, even the most peaceful-looking stage can turn deadly in the blink of an eye. 2-2019 Rally Chile. Another driver who knows what it's like to have his rally car completely destroyed is Thierry Neuville. At the 2019 Rally Chile, the Belgian came frighteningly close to disaster in one of the scariest crashes of his career. Neuville was blasting through a fast forest stage, the sun glaring in his eyes as he pushed his Hyundai i20 to the limit. Coming into a right-hand jump, he underestimated just how tight the corner was. On landing, the car slammed into the banking, and instantly, everything went wrong. The Hyundai flipped onto its roof and skidded upside down before suddenly barrel rolling down the stage. Neuville was no longer driving. He was just a passenger in a violent, out-of-control crash. The car smashed into the ground and the banking again and again, ripping itself apart as it flipped at terrifying speed. When the wreck finally came to rest on its side, the damage was catastrophic. Somehow, unbelievably, Neuville climbed out alive. A chilling reminder that even the best can be caught out in an instant. 1 Jolly Rally Val d'Aosta. The last crash on our list is both insane and unbelievably lucky. It doesn't get much closer than this. At the Jolly Rally Val d'Aosta in Italy, driver Pietro Scarone was pushing his Renault Clio to the absolute limit on the tight, punishing mountain passes. These roads leave no room for error, and Scarone found that out the hard way. Flying into a left-hander too hot, he slid wide and launched up the banking. Suddenly, his Clio was out of control and heading straight toward a group of spectators. The scene was terrifying. The car went airborne as if locked onto a collision course with the crowd. It smashed into the ground, flipped violently, and rolled right into the middle of the spectators. Yet somehow, in one of the luckiest moments in rally history, not a single person was injured. Which of these crashes left you speechless? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss more insane motorsport moments coming your way.